In this video we will explain what key changes and modulation are. We will provide a simple introduction to the different types of key changes that are used in songwriting. Let's begin. In music theory, the key of a composition refers to the scale that a piece of music draws all of its notes from. If a song uses the notes from a particular scale, then it is said to be in the key of that scale or in the tonality of that scale. If you hear that something is in the key of a note, without reference to major or minor, then it is assumed to be in a major key. For example, a song in the key of C would usually be implying that it is in the key of C major. The notes in the scale will allow you to construct a series of different chords. These chords are used in chord progressions to create a song with. You can also look at the chords used in the song to identify what key it is in. The most important note in the scale is the tonic note, and similarly, the most important chord in a key is the tonic chord. This chord will feel like home and will have the same letter and tonality as the relevant scale. For example, in the C major scale, the first note or tonic note is C. In the key of C major, the tonic chord is the C major chord. You may see this labelled with the 1 Roman numeral. The key of a song is usually established by frequently returning to the tonic chord and arranging other chords around the tonic chord to make it feel like the home chord of the song. This is sometimes referred to as the tonal centre. There can be some ambiguity about the tonal centre of certain songs, so be aware that it isn't always clear cut. That's music theory for you. So a song will be in a certain key, but it is perfectly possible for a song to move to a different key within the song. This is called a key change or modulation. These terms are used interchangeably and often mean the same thing, but it is worth being aware that some people will use them to refer to slightly different things. Modulation can be thought of as the process of changing key, whilst a key change is the final result of this modulation. Another way of looking at it might be that modulation is a temporary event within a piece of music, whereas a key change is more permanent or final. If this seems confusing, don't panic. Just know that the key of a song can change. It's all well and good knowing that a song can change key, but why would we even want to change key? When writing a song with a set of chords in a key, it can sometimes begin to feel a bit static and boring. After several repeats, the song may feel like it wants to go somewhere else. An easy way to achieve this is by changing the key of the song. Think of the final chorus of many 80s pop songs. That shift up is a key change used to elevate the final chorus to add emotion and energy. Songs can have several key changes within them. This might help to reinforce the lyrics or create a journey with the music, starting somewhere, going somewhere else, and then either returning home or continuing on a journey of further key changes. So key changes are a widely used songwriting technique that can create a wide diversity of sounds and feelings. But how do we change key? This is a question with a huge range of answers. This video is an introduction to modulation, so we will cover 4 of the most common ways to change key. This is by no means exhaustive, but it should be enough for you to begin your key change journey. The C major scale has the notes C, D, E, F, G, A and B. The A natural minor scale has the notes A, B, C, D, E, F and G. You can see that they have the same set of notes, which just start and end on different notes. Because of this, these two scales are called relative scales. C major is the relative major of A minor, and A minor is the relative minor of C major. As we discussed earlier, a key refers to the scale that a song is created from. So you can also have relative keys. Therefore, the relative key of C major is A minor, and vice versa. We can see this by looking at the chords in each key. C major has the chords 1 C major, 2 D minor, 3 E minor, 4 F major, 5 G major, 6 A minor, and 7 B diminished. And A minor has the chords 1 A minor, 2 B diminished, 3 C major, 4 D minor, 5 E minor, 6 F major, and 7 G major. If you would like to learn more about major and minor key chord progressions, then check out the links in the description below. Because these two relative keys have the same set of chords, it is easy to modulate between the two. It is worth visualizing these keys on the circle of fifths. The circle of fifths is a commonly used diagram in music theory. It shows the relationship between all of the notes in Western music and has a lot of applications. We have a video all about it for the full explanation. Watch to the end of this video for the link. If you look at the circle, you'll see that it actually has two circles, an outer one and an inner one. In the 12 o'clock position on the outer circle, you'll see the letter C. In relation to keys, think of this outer circle as the major keys. So the C represents the C major key. Directly below this on the inner circle is the letter A. Think of this inner circle as the minor keys. We know that A minor is the relative minor key of C major and vice versa, and the circle confirms this. It also shows you the relative keys of any key. This is extremely useful to refer to when thinking about a relative modulation for your song. We found our relative keys, so how can we achieve a relative modulation? The easiest way to achieve this is by using the 5 chord as the transition chord. The 5 chord, also known as the dominant, plays a powerful role in major key songwriting, bringing the listener back to the tonic chord. This is called a perfect cadence, which provides strong feeling of returning home and clearly establishes a major key. We'll start in the key of C major with a simple 4 chord progression. On the second repeat, we will change the final 5 chord to the 3 chord. This is the 5 chord in the key we are moving to, which is A minor. This sets us up to move to the 1 chord of our new key A minor. We then centre our chord progression around the new tonic A minor. On the second repeat of our minor progression, we end up on the 7 chord. This is the 5 chord in C major. So when we move back to the 1 chord C, we have a strong perfect cadence bringing us back to the major key. The impact of modulating may be more subtle with relative keys because of their closeness. Sometimes it doesn't sound like we have even changed key, but you can see that we have shifted our tonal centre. The big giveaway is our chord progressions start on the 1 chord, whatever key we are in, and this clearly changes. You can really use any chord to move to the relative minor, but the move from minor to major really relies on the 5 and 4 chords from the major key to create a strong cadence. Experiment with this yourself to discover how different chords affect the relative key change. Another common form of key change is modulating to a parallel key. This form of key change is very simple to understand. We keep the same tonic note, but move to a different tonality. So if we are in the key of C major, we move to C minor or vice versa. Let's look at the chords in both of these keys to examine how to make the move. We saw C major earlier. C minor has the chords 1 C minor, 2 D diminished, 3 E flat major, 4 F minor, 5 G minor, 6 A flat major, and 7 B flat major. On the face of it, these two keys have nothing in common. But have a look at the 5 chord. We know its important role in the major key, and in a minor key you will often find the 5 chord turned into a major chord. So here in C minor, G minor is often turned into G major in C minor key songs. Watch our minor key video, link in the description, if you want to learn more about the reasons behind this. Altering the 5 minor chord in this way means that we now have a shared 5 chord, G major, to use between the keys. So what we will do is take the previous chord progression and make a few tweaks. The first 4 bars in C major will repeat. No need for a change in bar 8 this time because it ends on the 5 chord. Once we've changed to C minor, we will use the same 1-5-4-5 progression as before. The difference this time is we will change the final 5 chord to a major 5 chord. This will strongly bring us back to the 1 chord in the key of C major again. Listen out for the difference in feel this parallel key change provides versus the previous relative key change. The next type of key change may be the most commonly used. It is called modulation by step or direct modulation. What this involves is moving the key up or down a short distance, maybe a half step or whole step. For example, from the key of C major, we may modulate to D flat major or D major. This movement is typically in an upwards direction to inject energy or movement. A downward shift would produce a different feel. You will have come across this modulation in many pop songs or Disney soundtracks, where the final chorus is shifted up to add extra emotion and intensity. This modulation is sometimes referred to as a gear shift. There is usually no preparation or nuance. We go from one key up to the next. It can feel a bit cliched or lazy due to its overuse in pop music, but it might be just what your song is after to elevate it. We'll demonstrate a double shift by taking our initial chord progression, then moving up half a step to D flat major, and then another half step to D major. Note how the Roman numeral order of the progression does not change. This would be the same if you were repeating a chorus. This preserves the feeling of the progression by simply shifting it all up. Did you enjoy those shifts? Have a go at your own and see what you think. Another way to change key touched on ideas that we've already covered. This is called common chord modulation or pivot chord modulation. As the name suggests, this involves finding a chord that two keys share and using this to modulate or pivot between keys. You are free to explore different keys and see where you can find common chords, but if you want to make your life easier, then load up the circle of fifths again. If we go back to C at 12 o'clock, you can see that either side of this we have G and F. Let's use the example of the F major key and compare the chords with C major. You'll see that they have 4 chords in common: F, A minor, C and D minor. This will be true of any of the major keys that are next to each other on the circle of fifths. Let's use the easiest, or laziest depending on your view, way to change between these keys. You'll see that the 1 chord in the key of C major is the 5 chord in the key of F major. So if we change the last chord in our C major key progression to 1, then it will strongly draw us to the F major key progression. If you change this 1 chord to a dominant 7th chord, then this movement is even stronger. Check out our video in the description for an explanation of the dominant 7th chord. We'll then move around the circle again after the key of F major and make our final move to B flat major. The same techniques apply, using the 1 dominant 7th to pivot to our new key. In theory, you could endlessly go around the circle until you arrive back at the point you started, but this might not be the most interesting way to approach this. There are so many ways to make this modulation technique work, so feel free to experiment. Listen to the version we described in action now. You've seen the circle of fifths being used for changing keys. Watch the video on screen now to fully understand its power.